This is breaking down the Bible, the Hebrew Scriptures. Do you believe in the book? Do you believe in the Scriptures? If so, take this ride with me, because what you're reading and what you're trying to understand and sometimes unlearn is the Hebrew Scriptures. Shalom. This is the Officer Wolfline. Okay, so the chosen people of the Hebrew Scriptures, or you might know it as the Bible, and Bible is one of those Roman Catholic terms. I like to say it like that, Roman Catholic terms, because you have so many different type of Catholic separatists, and it's all the same. And this particular teaching is going to be about the chosen people of the Hebrew Scriptures. And if you don't know who you are by now, then that is a problem. But after this teaching, after you see what's going on in these particular lessons that you're about to take this journey on, you should know if you're the people in that book. That book has been plagiarized over many times, especially the King James Version. There are some errors in there. But without further ado, let's get into the best kept secret that's known all over the world, and some of the very people who wake up and see themselves every single day don't even know it. So first we have to start with the contract. And this slide is in another teaching that's coming forth called the broken contract over in Davrim, or Deuteronomy 28. We have to start here because this is where we had the initial contract. Of course, the beginning starts with Genesis, but the beginning of the contract starts here in Deuteronomy 28. And most of the pastors and ministers, they're not even going to tell you about this. But if you're over here on the Officer Wolfline channel or on the website, you're going to get fed. Today is a good time to grow while you still have life in your body, and you can actually praise the Most High. So with that, let's get started. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Elohim, the Most High God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Elohim, thy the Most High God, will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. 2, and all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Elohim, the Most High God. Okay, here in the contract, in the beginning of the contract or the covenant, it's basically telling you if you obey, you're going to be in a very good position. Now, in the same contract, if you break it, there's some things that you should know as well. There are consequences. So, to sum up Deuteronomy 28, if you contract somebody to cut your yard or build your house, and you fulfill your end and they didn't fulfill their end, and you've already paid out the money, time, sweat, and tears, depending on what side of that contract you're on, but the other side didn't fulfill theirs, how would you feel? That's as simple as I can put it. So that's the Most High's position, because he doesn't change. He fulfilled and keeps fulfilling his side of the contract, but yet we broke it. And when I mean we, I mean those before us. You can call them your foremothers and forefathers, or the stiff-necked ones for those who have some type of learned experience in studying the scriptures. But also understand that this contract is not something that you can just tear up and rip away. this is a forever contract. And the people before you and still today keep breaking it. And the Most High is not pleased with us at all. So, going on to the next line, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other the Most High gods to serve them. Now, what I've done is I went through Deuteronomy 28, the contract, and I picked out the pieces and picked some of the things that you should be fully aware of. But I always tell you, or strongly encourage you, believe nothing that I say. Go look this up for yourself, read it for yourself, and you have to discern what's in front of you. You have to look at this information and have an intelligent spiritual conversation with the Most High and hope that He unseals and unblocks you so you can actually receive this information, especially if you have not been baptized. You need to get baptized so you can be filled with the Ruach, or the Holy Spirit, so you can understand these things. So every day is a lesson. Every day is a teaching. The book is alive, and you can see this between what I'm going to show you today, and then when you go and read it, you're going to be able to couple the things that are happening in today's environment with the book. It doesn't change. The book is alive. So, now in 15, from 14 all the way down, 14 is the midway section. That's what you're reading here. But all the way down to 68. And when I mean this, I mean in Deuteronomy 28, from 14 all the way down to 68. These are the consequences for not obeying the contract or the covenant. I urge you to go there and read it. I'm not going to give you everything. So you got to go and read some of this stuff. Okay, and then you can go back on a YouTube channel or Facebook or Google Plus, and then hit us up with some questions, and then we can go ahead and break some more of that stuff down. Okay, but that's what it's about. So, moving forward, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Elohim, the Most High God, to observe to all His commandments and His statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city. And you guys should know, come out of her, my people, by now. That's a pretty popular verse in the scriptures. And cursed shalt thou be in the field. So in 48, and again, this is not 28, 1 through 68. These are verses that I'm using to build a point, to build a conversation, and to show you the meat and potatoes of 28. So going on with 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Elohim shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So the reason why that's highlighted is because you need to understand that this verse has a lot of strength behind it. Who do you know in modern times and in earlier times whom had a yoke upon their neck? There's a certain group of people who've been torn from their heritage in Jeremiah. And also in Deuteronomy, it speaks of the same thing. But I need you to do your homework. And also in 49, it says, the Elohim shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Right there alone should start putting you in a focal perspective of how you should be viewing the rest of these teachings. So remember, I asked you, do you believe in the book? Do you believe in the scriptures? And when I mean the scriptures, I mean the Hebrew scriptures. I'm not just talking the King James Version. It has a lot of flaws in it. So we'll get to you to the type of readings that we do as far as the Hebrew scriptures, as you know it, the Bible that we use to get some of this information and pull it from. But that's here or there. Right now, the focus is, what did you just hear me say? He's going to bring a nation against thee, far from the end of the earth, and as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Imagine going into foreign places in shackles, and you don't know anything that they're saying, and you can't understand them because you speak in a different tongue. In current perspective, if you're in the United States and you've been in the United States and you only speak English, and then you travel over to France, and for whatever reason you get stopped by the TSA or the in-country policeman, and you can't understand nothing they're saying, and you have to be able to do what they tell you to do, or they're going to force you. However, in modern times, they got something called a translator. But this doesn't say that. They didn't have particular translators back then. You got to remember, we were splitting up into different tongues. Also, in 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor shew favor to the young. They're not going to do anything as far as a care in the world towards your young or the old. It means nothing to them. Your elderly means nothing, and your young kids, men, women, boys and girls mean absolute nothing in this contract. These are some potent words. In 68, it says, and the Elohim. Now this is because you broke the contract, or if you break the contract. But we know the contract has already been broken. So these are biblical, historical points that I'm pointing out to you. Hebrew points, laws, and governance. And the Elohim shall bring thee into Egypt again. So you were in Egypt in the first place, which you were in a type of bondage with ships. So who went back into bondage in ships, or back into slavery in ships? By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. You're not going to see your homeland again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. There's no redeemer. You're going to be held into bondage. So think about this for a second. Who was dispersed out of Jerusalem, Israel, tribe of Judah, Benjamin, all parts of the 12 tribes, because you had a south and southern, the upper and lower, or southern and northern, or northern, southern, however you want to put it, was dispersed for being disobedient. And then they were ran out of there because there was a great slaughter coming. And then yet they were captured later and then sold throughout parts of Africa, West Coast specifically, in great numbers. So who were those people? They fled into these areas. They were not originally African. They were not part of Ham. They were not an Hamite. So who were these people? Who were these people? You got to understand that they were not Africans. The American history books is so flawed that they don't want you to know who you really are if you're part of the chosen people. They don't want you to know if you're part of the Hamites or if you're part of Israel, because they want to group you together. That's like grouping the Chinese with the French. It doesn't work. Some may look the same, some may not, but there's a direct distinction. However, in that region, the hue or the melanated people that was there, yes, there were melanated people there way before the Caucasus intervention and the Roman Greeks intervention. Look it up. And the sole design of this system was because the contract was broken in 28. And that's what I have here in front of you, is to show you and illustrate that you were sold into your enemies. There's another counterparts of why you're over here in America. They have another debate calling the certain people from the Edomites Edom or Esau. Okay. For some of you out there, I don't know how you get that God loves everybody or Jesus Christ loves everybody. No, that's not true. Go look that up as well. There is some teachings out there on that. But he does not love everybody. And that's a whole nother digression. So I'm not going to digress into that. However, in front of you in Deuteronomy and Devarim 28, the broken contract, which is another teaching we got coming up. I took these slides out of that teaching so I could give you some direct illustrations. In 48, we read this before. 48, therefore shall thou serve thy enemies, which Elohim shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. As you can see, there's iron in the middle, and to the left and right, out in those certain parts of the desert area where they didn't have iron, they used wood. But there was definitely yokes of iron, as you can see in the middle. And then there's different countless methods that they use in order to destroy you. As you can see to the lower left, Kuta Kinte became Toby. He had to learn how to speak English. Okay, and in the middle, same thing. You got to learn their way of life through pain. And if you look in the lower right hand corner, that's just a leatherback. From the word cracking the whip. That's where the word cracker came from. You crack the whip. So on these teachings, I don't hold back. So if you get offended, then you're not offended at me. You're offended at the truth. Moving forward, as you can see, most of the chosen people were dispersed all over the place. You were everywhere. And that's why I wanted to put this in front of you, because sometimes you need a visualization so you can understand what's going on in front of you. Now think about 49 and 50. Okay, when you're going into a nation whose tongue you shall not understand. That's at the end of 49 right there. And then a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. And that's the one that's in front of you right now, where they're selling them. Okay, so if you look to the left, you can see in West Africa, Africa, Central Africa, Southeast Africa, those are the main source of the slaves that were coming through from Israel or Jerusalem area, when they try to avoid the slaughter and end up getting sold due to disobedience. Okay, so that part right there shows you exactly where they were and where they are over here. Just want to make sure that you're not getting confused and that you're following along with the proper teaching. So if you look at Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, Ethiopia, Somalia, all these different places the chosen people went, and this is on the graph to your right. And they were pushed over to North America, if you're in America right now, and the West Indies. Look at where the majority of the chosen people were pushed off to. Even in Brazil, this is on your left hand side, the West Indies, and North America, and Mexico. Now, if you see the older gentleman to the left, lower left, he just popped up there. Now that's a yoke of iron on his neck, and he's an older gentleman, well, a man of hue, or melanated posterior, of course. And that's a yoke of iron around his neck. And what just popped over into your lower right hand corner is no favor to the old nor the young. And they're all roped, and they got yokes on their necks. Okay, so just to hammer this in the 12 tribes, embarking upon this is to show you that you're not African American if you're the chosen people. There's a distinction where you are currently and where you were back then. There's still the same distinction. How can you be African American? Which is another teaching that's coming up. Okay, you can't be two Greeks, Romans, some say Italian. From Americus Vespucci all the way down to General Africanus. Yes, he was a general. I don't want to let the full cat out the bag, but rewind this video and understand what I'm saying. Okay. The bottom line is you have Africa that was named after a Roman general and of Greek background as well. In addition to America was named after part Greek, part Italian is what they want to say, according to the etymology of the name. But both of Caucasian or Caucasus descent. But yet you want to claim yourself as an African American. Well, think about this. Why is it that every nation has a setting except for you, and you don't even know your own history? If you're a part of the chosen people, you don't know your background. So if you're African American, what part of Africa did you come from? Because a true African is going to tell you he's African. He knows where he came from. An American is going to tell you where they were born and where they came from. Then they'll tell you their lineage or their heritage. Some of you can't do that. So you might want to start digging into your background. Starting to the left, going from left to right, we'll start down there with Judah and Simeon. And then at the top, you got Manasseh, Ephraim, Issachar. These are all part of Israel and the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? This is known today, some parts of it, as Israel, the total part. But the 12 tribes are broken down, and you can actually see the area that they were in. And I'm going to pull up a map here real soon so you can see the current status of that as well. But remember the Mediterranean Sea there, and then to the left and right. So one is broken down and one is really souped up so you can actually see it. So if you see my mouse here, where you see Judah here and the Dead Sea, it's the same over here. And what I'm doing is I'm orientating you to this map so you can understand. So if you're going north, you can see certain different aspects between the two maps. But in order to understand where they were and where they were thriving, developing at, you need to understand about the 12 tribes and who they are and what they are and where they were located in the land. This sometimes is not fully explained, okay? And that's why I have it here, so you can have a visualization of what it looks like. And you can do a little bit of research, and then you can come back and you can formulate a thought, opinion of an intelligent, sound process. Okay? But that's what they're talking about by the promised land, the stolen land. The people that are currently there now are not the true Jews. That's why they're Jewish. Okay, look at Judah or Judaism. And once again, going back to the nationalities, this is what these guys were. They had a nationality. They were torn from it. And just to put this in a bitter perspective, when you go to France, using that again, they'll say we're French. Or if you go to China, they'll say they're Chinese. If you go to Germany, they'll say they're German. If you go to Australia, what do they tell you? I'm Australian. If you go in the UK and Britain, they'll say we're British. So, if you understand what I'm doing and what I've just said, then if the chosen people came over here in ships, and they're called African Americans, how can you be too Caucasus or Roman Greek or of Italian descent names, and you're a person of hue that came from this region? Let it sink in for a second. Or how can you be black, a color? Let that sink in for a second. So you're black, you're a color, you're African American, and that's what you're known as. You're a color. You're not a nationality. So, what are you? Once again, the people that are currently in this region, and it became a state in 1947, 1948, claim those borders. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, you see Egypt. On the right of that, across the orange or the Jewish state, is Jordan. So, if these are the lands and hills and mountains where these people were dwelling, and they're now Jewish, where did they come from? Because in 1947, they didn't have this before then. So who was there before then and before then? Because if you look at it, you need to have melanin in your skin, because that is desert area. And only people of melanated and hue can survive the sun as such. But if you're of a different background, you'll get something called skin cancer. So, who gets skin cancer? Who needs to wear sunblock? Your bodies are built for the region that you're designed to grow in and sustain in. Did you ever think about that? So how is it that the people of today in these particular places can be Egyptian, of very, very light skin, and the same thing in Israel? Is it becoming clear yet? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Can you realize the facts that are in front of you? There's no more hiding this no more, people. You can understand this now. Wake up. I'm putting it right in front of you. Look at the different shades of tone in front of you. But you say you want to be Islam or Muslim. That's totally up to you. Just know they help sell and discard your bodies over to other people, and you were also slaves there too. So the Hamites or Africans, all those others in that region helped sell you, destroy you, and kill you due to disobedience. But yet you're taking on those different tongues and those different types of faith practices. In modern day English, it's called religion or faith. In Hebrew, there are laws of governance to the Most High Yah, or Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who is of hue as well, or melanated. And I know that burns some of you up, but you have to use a level of logic. Here, we continue to force you to see how you were dispersed all over the place and where you were primarily sold from, and the information in front of you is a little off, but it gets you to where I need you to be. So those numbers are in the ballpark, but they don't have the correct totalities. But it does show you locations and variations of where the chosen ones were sold due to disobedience. And this being the slave trade. So I put this in front of you again so you can see that in 1947 this current Israel was established. So think about what I'm telling you here. Israel's waking up. They're finding out they know who they are. Some go about it the wrong way, and then some go about it in a certain manner. But Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, is coming back to set things right. So you need to know where you are today. Okay, all this peace on earth and all this other stuff that you Christians talk about, and it's just simply not true. And how do I know? Is because for 20 plus years I was a Christian until I started learning other things in history and started picking up the book and listening to people who have some experience behind them and getting that information in my thick skull. You got to understand, you got over 460 something years of ruling upon you, different heritage, different slave mentalities that has been forced upon you through the generations. So they're teaching what they know, but some don't have the heart of Judah or the Lion or Benjamin to go forth and find out what the real truth is, or they got you so trained that you're so scared to do anything. Well, some of us are not. The truth does set you free. Here is the migration piece into Africa, in addition to the captivity, where you're dispersed all over the place. And you got to realize you got different kingdoms that you were ruled in different eras. That's for another lesson or discussion. But this is to show you where you were, where you went, how you got the name African American, and you're not African. The chosen people of the Hebrew scriptures are not African. They're not Hamites. Our own people, as they call here in America, did not sell us. It was the other side who sold us. Now, can we say that we had sellouts? Sure, we can say we had sellouts. But primarily, we're not African American. We're not even African. Our heritage was dislodged. And now we're trying to get back to it according to the book and the scriptures. As we long to get back towards the Most High, to give us strength, power, and understanding, wisdom, knowledge, and experience. I mean, we have a long way to go to make up for what our ancestors did But we have to get there, and we have to set this track for those behind us. Because the greatest thing that they can do is hide it right in front of you. Because they're so empowered, they don't even care anymore. So in 68, and the Elohim shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No redeemer. Nobody's going to buy you with a value, basically. So you're back in the bondage. And what is today's bondage? What does it look like? Well, you've been mind groped so much that now the laws of the land is designed to throw most what you might call African Americans or men of color in jail. This country state government can't make any money unless you're captive. You're in captivity. That's how they make money. Through the free labor. Getting you to do things on the low or next to nothing while they reap all the rewards in their local prisons. You can call them jails, you can call them lockups, but they're still prisons. I don't care how you spin it, you are a prisoner. You slave, and they make it seem like you're getting somewhere so they can trust you, but in reality, it's all a fraud. You shouldn't be trusting any of them. So yes, we went back into bondage and captivity. So the people needed to be saved, and the chosen people reached out, made a covenant with the Most High. The Most High saved them, granted, pulled them away from the pain and misery. Then they turned around and broke the contract and was worshiping all different type of gods and doing all crazy things. And that provoked him to anger. So of course, he is fulfilling his side of the contract. That's all he is doing. And yes, the Most High is a he, not a she. So, what is your role today? You don't cry out as much as because you've been mind groped to thinking that everything is okay, but it's not. Once you get a chance, run over to Matthew 10:34 and read that. And you tell me if he's coming to bring peace on earth. Another thing, go and read Devarim chapter 28, the whole thing, and understand it. Get to know it. And then venture back to the left of the laws in the scriptures, back in Genesis. Okay? And understand and get to know the first 5 books of the Torah that Moshe, or you might know him as Moses, pushed. Okay? You need to know these things. Yes, you're back in captivity mentally. These things are all spiritual now. There is no guy under the ground with a pitchfork and horns. It's all spiritual. All of it. And this right here is to show you that you will be brought back into bondage in ships. What people were sold, put on ships, and distributed abroad? There's only one set of there was only one nation and one set of people. And it's not the ones with the long stringy hair and black caps and they put them on top of their heads. They were never sold. They were never put on ships. They don't have hue. And they're in charge of a lot of things around this world. So understand, Esau is one type, your enemy is another. And you can have a lot of enemies, but you were sold to your enemies. Esau is controlling a lot of things. But if the Most High hates Esau, should you? Shouldn't you know who Esau is? Shouldn't you know those who say that they are Jews, but are the synagogues of Satan? Look that up. That's Esau. Esau is mixing, but very distinctive too. So this is about nationality, not race. So you can't tell somebody from just the pigmentation of their skin. You have to judge them from their actions and their background and their lineage. Then you can develop a logical spiritual tone and credibility factor. But whoever tells you they're Jewish and does not have a line back to these ships, or were not severely slaughtered, and do not have hue of some sort, you might want to test their knowledge. Because in these Hebrew scriptures, it's designed to test yourself and show yourself approved, and you to be checked and you to check them. So get ready. You were discontinued from your heritage. Ask them if they know who they are and where they go back. And I don't want to hear about the Holocaust, okay? Over 100 million of chosen people were slaughtered. And then the numbers in the Holocaust are not even close to what they were really saying. Those numbers bounce back and forth. You can't take away from the disparity, but it's more celebrated than slavery, which is the largest Holocaust of them all. Head to toe, foot to foot, you were cargo. And if you notice, the people in this depiction are dark, not light. A little blow up so you can see it a little better. Cargo. So imagine months on the water. No bathrooms. No food. What are you going to do? And the Elohim shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Does any of that look familiar? Here's a public sale for Negroes in July of 1832. And if you see over there on the left-hand side, they're in nakedness, correct? But look, also, look at the person with something in his left hand, and he's a little darker than everybody else that he's touting along, or he's in charge of. That's a Hamite. Africans are Hamites. Here's another one. And they're supposed to be sold aboard a ship. Once again, Negroes. That's what you were called, Negroes. Another public auction. And this one has a little more identification. A Negro wench, about 30 years of age. They cook good, washer, ironer, and a faithful servant. Aren't you serving your enemies? The next, he has a Negro man about 48 years of age. A good dray man. And is somewhat of a cook, both warranted sober, honest, and no runaways. Obviously, they were running when they got over wherever they were going, but that also happened in America as well. And this is in English, so he never ran. Just like we're not running right now because we think we got it good. But if you look among today's environments, and I'll go back for a second. If you look among today's environment, you got it well, right? But you got all this debt for a debt nation. But this particular America was built on blood and your sweat and tears, but yet you get no credit. You just get a history lesson saying that you got it good now. How? Because those have already prospered off your backs? The cheap labor? Another story, another day. So the chosen people. This right here should hit home if you're waking up in Psalms 83. And I saved this towards the last because this is for the chosen people, so you can wake up. Psalms 1. Keep not thou silence, O the Most High God, hold not thy peace. And be not still, O the Most High God, for lo thy enemies. You gotta understand your enemies. There's nothing here that says love them. Who loves your enemy? Does your enemy love you? Make a tumult, and that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against the hidden ones. Who are the hidden ones? The ones who were scattered, pushed through the Atlantic slave trade, torn from their heritage, don't know who they are, don't know their background or where they came from. You should be growing. You should know now. Because they all plotted against you. And it's out in the open. And your eyes are wide shut. And it's right in front of you. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. So you're an African American. You're not a nation. You're a black man. You're not a nation. That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. You ever seen a magic show? Ta-da! Here it is. Think about what's in front of you. Think about what was said. Go back, rewind, go back over this. Go study. Get into some real Hebraic forms that will allow you to grow and know your heritage to gain a closer connection to Yeshua HaMashiach, because he's the way to the Most High Yah. This is in yellow because it's potent. For they have consulted together. With one consent, they are confederate against thee. How can you get around that? The kingsmen, or you might call them policemen, all show allegiance to the crown. They shoot down these men in the middle of the streets, and they get away with it. Why do you think the police can get off? Because they know they can. That's why they do it. But when there's a revolt, then everybody's up in arms. You're scared then. Because when you start standing up for yourselves, then they're concerned. Then they conspire against you, as the book says. But you need to strengthen your knowledge, because our people are destroyed due to a lack of knowledge. That's also in the book. Look it up. You can Google it, Yahoo it, or Bing it. Either way, you need to go read it for yourself. So since I had Psalms in here, I went ahead and put the rest of it in here, because I want you to feel the strength behind this particular chapter. The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagranites. 7. Gebal, the Anon, and the Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have Hophin, the children of Lot, Selah. Who are the chosen people? We know the guy on the right because he claimed to be a Hamite from Africa. The guy on the left is saying, you. If you went through all of this and you're connecting with it, you might be an Israelite. Psalms 83:9. Do unto them as unto the Midianites. Go look up the Midianites and see what happened. As the Sisera and the Jabin at the brook of Kison. 10. Which perished at Edor. They became as dung for the earth. There's another word that we like to use, but this seems to be a little more appropriate. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb. Yea, all their princes of Zeb and as Zalmunna. Who said, let us take ourselves to the houses of the Most High God in possession? O my, the Most High, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. Look up who the author. I'm not going to give it to you. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Listen, the people who are conspired against you already know the Most High is coming back and they're going to be torn down. So they're trying to take you out as many as possible. What are you doing to protect yourself? You have a sword. The modern day sword has clips between 8 and 18 now. And you pull the trigger because they carry theirs with them. Are you carrying yours with you? Are you protecting yourself? Can you protect your family? You need to learn how to protect yourself. "16. Fill their faces with shame." They are ashamed. Some do. And some can be grafted in. Okay? Some can be grafted in. And we'll be doing something on grafting in into the laws a little later. "And they may seek thy name, O Elohim. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish." That's what you want for your enemies. And you can't love your enemies and love Esau. But you're supposed to know who they are and very close. "That men may know that thou, whose name alone is the Most High." Shalom. That is powerful. "Art thou Most High over all the earth." All of it, people. So who has this been talked about? The broken contract. That's right. If you're waking up, if this fits your bill, then this is talking about you, Israel. This is the Officer Wolfline. You can visit us at theofficerwolfline.com. Make sure you like us, okay? And subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay? And you guys have a great day. And we're going to make sure this gets up on the channel. And remember, theofficerwolfline.com. Make sure you like us and subscribe to the channel. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter so we can grow. Thank you.